Is this bus route the only public transportation that goes directly from Virginia to Maryland? This is Washington, D.C., and this is what Washington looks like under the ground. The Washington Metro is a unique system with many interesting features. One of those features is the fact that trains cross over from one state to another all the time. When you look at the United States, you'll notice that there are not many places where rapid transit crosses state lines. And you may ask yourself, lines on a map, what's the big deal really? Unfortunately, the reality of borders is not that simple. Maryland, Virginia, and DC have very different governments, and agreements need to be made to let the Metro run across the three. The Washington Metro Rail and bus systems are operated by the Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority, or WMATA for short. WMATA is an organization that has board members representing DC, Maryland, Virginia, and the federal government. Unfortunately, there is no dedicated tax source for WMATA's funding, so every year, all parties must develop a new agreement on how to fund the system and what they will contribute. Because the Washington metropolitan area spills out into both Maryland and Virginia, cooperation is necessary, and transit routes cross borders in ways that seem effortless, at least from a passenger perspective. All the Metro rail lines cross from DC into a neighboring state at least once, and so do dozens of bus routes. 3 Metro lines run through Virginia, DC, and Maryland. But is there any transit that crosses from Virginia directly into Maryland? Turns out, only one bus route in the area does that. This is the NH2, which runs from Alexandria, Virginia to National Harbor, Maryland. Noticing this bus route, I became curious if there were any other bus routes that ran between these two states. So let's zoom out. The Virginia-Maryland border runs for 195 miles. The vast majority of it is water formed by the Potomac River and the Chesapeake Bay, with a tiny section of land border on the Delmarva Peninsula. An interesting fact about the Potomac is that it is completely owned by Maryland. The border actually runs on the Virginia shore of the river. The Potomac only has a few river crossings, so in my research for this video, I looked at transit maps from communities all along the border and came to the discovery that that same NH2 is the only transit connection to directly connect Virginia and Maryland across all 195 miles of the border. So let's get on Metro again, head down to Alexandria, Virginia, and check out the NH2 for ourselves.
King Street. Back subject takes the boat will connect to the outline train. We'll go to that side.
Alright, so I've made it to King Street Old Town Station. Right next to us is Alexandria Union Station. That's what Amtrak and the Virginia Railway Express use. King Street Old Town, it's on the yellow and blue lines. They actually split right past here. So King Street Old Town is one of only 2 stations on the system to have this kind of roof. I think it's actually called the Alexandria roof. When Metro was building these stations, the city of Alexandria was worried that the brutalist architecture would clash with the aesthetic of Old Town. So that's why they gave it this kind of triangular shape. But you'll notice right here in the middle of the platform, there's a gap. And that is so that even if you're on King Street, the view of the monument over here remains unobstructed. Now, you guys know me, I could talk about the trains and the station all day, but we're here to ride a bus today, so let's head to the bus station right outside.
Immediately outside of the Metro station at King Street Old Town, you will find a large bus station serving both WMATA Metro Bus and Alexandria Dash buses. Getting to the bus station from the train is super easy, though for anybody walking into Old Town, the many traffic lanes and signals definitely will add a few minutes to your walking time.
Okay, so we're trying to find where the NH2 leaves from. Did you find it? Looks like we found it. The NH2 is a Metro bus route. This bus station also serves Dash buses. We're not riding Dash today, but I did want to show you this really cool sign that we just noticed for the first time. Congratulations, Dash!
Route NH2 leaves from Bus Bay J. Buses depart every 30 minutes on weekdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. A ride costs $2, but if you transfer from the train, your fare card should give you a free transfer. The NH2 makes 2 stops in Virginia before crossing the river. In fact, the whole route only has 6 stops in total, including the terminals. A ride from King Street to National Harbor takes about 20 minutes. Today, we will be riding up until Oxon Hill, a ride of about 15 minutes. Soon, we find ourselves on interstate highways I-95 and I-495. This bridge, spanning the Potomac River, is known as the Woodrow Wilson Memorial Bridge, named after the 28th President of the United States. At 5,900 feet or 1,800 meters long, it was one of the only drawbridges on the interstate highway system when it opened back in 1961. Over the years, an unexpected boom in suburb-to-suburb travel, as well as increasing frustration at just how many times the bridge was open for ships, made officials realize a new bridge was needed. So in the years leading up to 2008, a brand new bridge was built, this one wider and taller than the previous one. And today, the NH2 is the only transit bus to cross it. I need to address one teeny tiny detail that I failed to mention, and that if I don't bring it up, I know you will. A sliver of the Woodrow Wilson Bridge is in Washington, D.C. If you look at the map, you'll notice that this very brief section is in D.C. territory. The bridge itself is owned by Maryland and Virginia, but technically you can't travel from Virginia to Maryland on the NH2 without crossing into DC, even if it's just for a few seconds. So what do you think? Since there are no stops in DC, does the NH2 count as the only transit directly from VA to MD? After all, there's no way to get off the bus in DC. That's why I lean towards yes, but I'm curious what you think. I'll let you all fight about it in the comments.
So this is the Oxon Hill Park and Ride. There were more people over there earlier, so they got the ride park down, but I don't see a lot of people parking here. Which, I'm not going to complain about that. We're going to go into the National Harbor, and we're going to take Capital Bike Share. And I don't even know how a person would vandalize a map like this, but the bus we were on does go to National Harbor, but it's a 56-degree day in December, so we're going to take Capital Bike Share. After navigating some roads that were difficult to safely bike on, we found our way onto a dedicated bike trail that would lead us straight into National Harbor. Along the way, we passed the MGM Casino, another stop on the NH2 and one of the largest economic powerhouses in this particular area. National Harbor is located in Prince George's County, Maryland, and has a population of about 5,500. However, it's a popular tourist spot with over 28 million people visiting it every year. Initially, this site was a plantation, but in the 1980s, it was redeveloped into the current residential and commercial area. Attractions today include the convention center and an outlet mall. With all the commercial activity, it can be easy to forget that this was once a place where slaves toiled under the hot Maryland sun. So we had a fun little time exploring the National Harbor. Now we are going to cosplay as the NH2 and bike over the bridge back to Alexandria. As we're biking over the bridge, I want to point out again how unusual the border between Virginia and Maryland here is. Normally, when a river forms a border, the line goes right through the middle of the river. But like I said, it's only once we actually reach land in Virginia that we will officially be in Virginia. So let's say you were a Virginian who was weirdly obsessed with bridges and decided to get married on the Woodrow Wilson Bridge, you'd have to get a Maryland marriage license. After crossing the bridge, we soon find ourselves biking underneath it. Down here, there is a little park where parents can teach their kids cycling safety. And now we're back in Alexandria at their beautiful Christmas tree.
Let's quickly look at the future. Someday, the NH2 may not be alone anymore. As part of the Better Bus program, WMATA is looking at establishing a bus connection across the American Legion Memorial Bridge. And of course, if they do decide to build the BLOOP, the Blue Line Loop, we will finally see a train connection between Huntington and National Harbor. The Wilson Bridge already has some space reserved for potential future tracks.
So now we've come full circle and we're back at King Street, Old Town. Riding the NH2 was a lot of fun, although I do think biking over the bridge was even better. Hopefully, sometime in the future, we'll be able to take the train from Alexandria to National Harbor. If there's any developments on that, of course, I will keep you updated. Thanks so much for watching today. See you next time.